All right, what is up, everyone? So this is Drew here. I'm making a video just to show you guys the bots that I have created, and I'm going to be going through a list down one by one just to show you exactly the unique use cases of these bots. I've created every single one of them for a very, very specific purpose for people that, in a sense, are looking for a solution that isn't either available fully to the public or it's not necessarily, in a sense, public, or it's public but it's very expensive. So I created these tools. Of course, some of these are prototypes. I will let you guys know ahead of time that some of these are prototypes and they're constantly being iterated and split tested, and I'm trying to make them better and better the more and more I use these tools. Of course, I'm getting active feedback on a lot of these bots. I'm posting on Reddit. I'm posting on forums in a whole bunch of other places, and I'm actually asking people like in person to actually use these bots and actually give me solid feedback to see if these are actually as good as I want them to be and if they're actually usable in a sense on a daily basis. Now, we're going to be going down the list, and I'm going to be basically explaining why I created these bots in the first place, and in a sense, the actual advantage to using these bots, right? Because it's one thing to create a bot that everyone else has already created or has access to, but I usually like to take the more advanced approach to some of these GPTs that I've created. So, of course, the first one is ClearGPT. The main reason why I created this was because it is a prompting bot for GPT-4, or GPT-4o, GPT-4o mini. These are prompting. This is a prompting bot. So we're gonna go into it real quick, and of course, it has a few users already actively using it, and I believe one of the users is actually myself. So I think there's only two other people, if I'm not mistaken. So in a sense, what you would do is you would actually tell it that you'd want to create a very hyper-specific prompt for GPT-4, and this is, in a sense, a custom prompting GPT, and this actually does use GPT-4 to actually create the prompts. So it's a very kind of like a holistic approach, and it's actually trained on advanced prompts that are actually actively being used by a lot of prompting engineers on the back end of this bot. So it's not necessarily just like a tiny little prompt that says make me the best prompt. And no, it's much more advanced than that. Like I have like documents. I have like I want to say it has probably close to about 10,000 prompts up pre-uploaded to this specific GPT on Poe.com so that it actually can spit out results that are, in a sense, not vague. Because a lot of the use cases that you would get out of traditional large language models, or if you would go to, ChatGPT and you would ask it to create a prompt, it's kind of vague and it's not as good. I mean, of course, the workaround for that would be the traditional method of ask it, hey, make this prompt better, and then you just continuously iterate that same message over and over again and distill it to make it better and better and better. But realistically, from a prompt engineer's perspective and from all the prompts that I've actually purchased and actually had and gotten access to by buying the prompt packs, it goes much more in depth. And the more specific you are, the more in a sense nitty and gritty you are with the large language model information that's available. Of course, you can spend hours and hours of research, or you could just use this GPT prompt maker. Your choice. And of course, I mean, if you're already a prompt engineer, then you already know what you're doing, and this tool is just only going to accelerate the process. So that's mainly the reason why I created ClearGPT, is to have a clear and concise prompt that would actually be given to you for your initial intent behind using ChatGPT, which is how a lot of these so-called platforms or custom GPTs were created, was by using tools like this that actually makes custom prompts with the sole purpose of your intent, right? Let's say, for instance, I'm building another bot. I would use this to make a very, very specific response for GPT-4o search or Perplexity. And of course, majority of the research that I actually do personally is through Perplexity, because it's, in a sense, it's very fact based, and it's very backed up by information that is publicly known, rather than it just being, hallucinated AI information, which nobody wants access to that. All right, so the next one that I created was Flying Slate. And Flying Slate, essentially, the sole purpose behind Flying Slate was basically an idea tester, right? It's created off of the premise of a quantum collider, in a sense. It's more of kind of like an idea collider, if that makes any sense. I hope I'm making sense to you guys right now. Basically, what it does is it simulates idea collisions, and it sees, basically, if you were to take, for instance, the concept of, I want to make a cookie, right? And then what this would do is it would actually go in and split that cookie into two cookies, the concepts, the idea concepts behind that. And then it would converge those ideas and see which idea of a cookie would be best suited in terms of the output. So it would, in a sense, quantify your end results on a continuous basis, so that you would, in a sense, get a idea that is much more holistic and well-rounded, but also from more of like a innovative approach, rather than going after the traditional, give me a recipe for a cookie, for instance, and then it would ask you, what kind of cookie do you want to make? This would automatically do all that stuff for you. And of course, this is just a vague example of, cookie, like cooking or something like that. For instance, like let's go back to the AI chatbots, right? Or the custom large language models. What this would do is it would gauge and metric between which large language models not only have the highest demand, it would also gauge and metric which ones are the most marketable, which ideas and which market verticals could you actually go after. It would, in a sense, start to create idea decay chains and see where certain ideas fall off in the long run, and which ones are, in a sense, not really a viable option. Of course, using quantum theory and all that, sciencey jazz that I'm not really going to get into, because I'm pretty sure majority of the people watching these kinds of videos already have a basic understanding of quantum physics, and basically how, in a sense, particles interact with one another, in a sense, creating certain, in a sense, antimatters, right? So what this does is it creates, it not only gauges and metrics the concept of the ideas, but it also collides the ideas with other ideas, then getting you a much more distilled answer, and what would be a much more, in a sense, beneficial outcome for your initial idea, right? So if you said, I want to make a large language model that is tailored towards the medical industry, this would actually go through and collide different types of chatbot ideas in the medical industry that would have the most viable long-term solutions for you as the creator of that large language model. In a sense, that's a very vague overlook on how this works. Obviously, for the sake of time, because this video is going to be probably like 20 minutes, actually probably about like an hour long if we continue going on about how idea decay chains work and how these bots, go back and forth with one another. So the next bot that I created was an home automation consultant. In a sense, it basically optimizes your environments, and it gives you feedback on how you have your home set up, how you have, for instance, your Amazon Alexa. Like, you have to give it very, very specific information about your home environment so that it actually gives you the best feedback, right? So, for instance, I've used this tool and it's asked me, in a sense, where's my desk set up in my room that I do majority of my work in. And then it also asks me, where's the windows, where's the lighting source coming from, because it already has it optimized for work intended purposes, because I told it that this is where I do majority of the work, right? The home office. So then what it does is it actually creates in a blueprint and guides you through the step-by-step process on how you would not only optimize your set environment, right? Let's say you're trying to optimize your bedroom or you're trying to optimize your kitchen. This, in a sense, guides you through the process of how you would go about doing that in a very efficient but effective manner with the sole objective of that room's purpose, right? So for the kitchen, obviously, it would be cooking, and the dining room would be obviously dining if you even use the dining room for dining. But you get my point. That's essentially what Numina does. That's why I created the bot, was to, in a sense, consult you on the process of optimizing every single room for its intended use case and purposes, so that you would, in a sense, not have to do majority of the thinking, and it would actually save the thinking or the brain juice, for lack of a better term, for you, so that you can actually use your brain for more important things rather than just thinking about how you would, in a sense, make your room better. The next one is Exotic 1.0. It's an AI wellness coach that is backed by probably, I want to say, over 20 different books on holistic ancient practices on how to maintain your body. Of course, backed up by ancient cultures and stuff like that. I'm not going to go too into depth because it's going to take me hours and hours to explain on how these bots work and stuff, but it's basically like a wellness coach essentially. The next few are split tests on my tool called Excavat. Excavat is an advanced AI-powered research tool. I'm currently testing it. It's still a prototype right now. It's not a publicly available software that people can use. So the next one that I created was Guava Ape. So Guava Ape is a nutritionist. It's an AI-powered nutritionist. And the thing is, the reason why I specifically created Guava Ape and the angle that I actually went after traditional nutrition was not, in a sense, just give me a meal plan, right? Because if you usually ask GPT-4 or any other large language model to give you a meal plan, it's going to give you a very cookie-cutter approach to creating your own meal plan. So instead what I did was I created something a little bit more hyper-specific and more user intent oriented. So Guava Ape wouldn't necessarily give you a traditional cookie-cutter template that you could follow that everyone else is following. It's much more specific and much more in depth. For instance, let's say you want to lose 15 pounds in the next 3 months. This is going to give you a literal day-by-day plan or a week-by-week plan. If you ask it, it'll give you a day-by-day plan. If you ask it for a week-by-week plan, it will give you that exact strategy that you would, in a sense, implement. Now, of course, from anyone that's actually done any form of dieting or any form of calorie suppression knows that it's very, very difficult, and it's very, very tempting not to follow the plan or the regimen. Of course, you can also tell Guava Ape that, hey, I'm having some kind of achy, for instance, I'll give you a very common example. My knees are aching or something like that. It will automatically recommend you foods that are specifically, in a sense, created to fix or alleviate that ailment rather than it being given you, some pharmaceutical drug to take. It's going to give you a much more holistic approach to your, health and nutrition. That's why, in a sense, that I created Guava Ape, was much more of a holistic approach to health and wellness and dieting without the intervention of, for instance, diuretics and all that other, stuff that's very, very heavily, I wouldn't say toxic, but it has its toll on the body itself. So the next tool that I created in the same vertical is called Chimera. So Chimera is your fitness coach. Now, what separates Chimera from every other fitness coach is that not only does it give you your own fitness blueprint, right? It gives you the workout plans, it gives you every exercise that you need to do, but it also gives you a step-by-step plan on which exercises to do. It'll tell you exactly how many reps to do. If you, let's say you're trying to put on weight, it's going to give you the exact workout plan for you to start putting on weight, and then you can go back to Guava Ape and ask it to give you you can copy and paste the exact same response that you get from Chimera to Guava Ape and say, hey, give me an actual meal plan that backs up this exact workout regimen so that you can use it. And of course, these tools are absolutely free to use. I don't charge you for these tools at all. These are free to use because, in my opinion, it's if the technology is available, you might as well leverage it, right? So, and that's not necessarily the strength, in my opinion, because there's plenty of GPTs that heavily delve into personal fitness. The main primary reason why I created Chimera was, in a sense, a body transformation coach, not necessarily a traditional fitness coach, because traditional fitness coach is like, let's get you fit. This is more of like, let's get you fit but jacked but um, symmetrically build your physique to mirror, let's say, classic bodybuilding or modern day bodybuilding physiques. This would give you those, in a sense, very hyper specific and oriented prompts that would actually guide you through the step-by-step process. And of course, this is absolutely free. I'm not charging you for this. I mean, of course, the Chimera comes with an actual bundle that I sell on my shop that comes with the actual guides and stuff like that. This specifically with Chimera, it also factors in whether you're on some form of, enhancements in any sort. This factors that in also. And then obviously with Chimera, the other strength is that I've noticed that I actually use the tools that I create. That's why I created these tools, because I was like, I don't really have a solution for this. Let me actually go out and create this. So let's say you're, in a sense, overworked, you're really tired, you're not really feeling like, working out heavy or lifting heavy, but your meal plan that you use to get from Chimera or from some other fitness coach is telling you that you're going to have to lift heavy today, but you're not feeling it. This is why I created Chimera, so that you can let it know, hey, I'm not feeling so strong today. Give me a workout to where I can still continue on my, in a sense, my course, but also fill in the gaps of where I can really kind of like not necessarily slack off, even though I'm not feeling great, in a sense, or as energetic or as strong today. This is where Chimera really kicks in. From all of the plans that it has given me, it seems to be very, very effective in that regard, where it really considers where you are and where your standpoint is at. This is where the bot really, really shines. So the next bot that I created was Prototype AI. So this is basically a product development consultant that helps you iterate your products and existing solutions to your current user base, your current marketplace. This finds you alternative verticals to where you can really, in a sense, provide a much more holistic solution to the marketplace. And of course, with that said, it's going to, in a sense, the more information you give it about, your organization, your products, your user base, how many users are using it, this is going to give you a much more well-rounded consulting approach to your existing products, and it's going to give you much more innovative ideas to, in a sense, push the needle further forward in your specific industry. So the next tool that I created was Keen AI. So Keen AI is basically a daily creative challenge tool that helps you, in a sense, unlock your creativity. So the main reason why Keen AI was even created in the first place was basically to start to kickstart the creative flow state, so that you would, in a sense, have something to, in a sense, guide you cognitively into the creative space, into the left hemisphere of your brain, so you can start to brainstorm ideas even if you're not feeling creative that day. It's going to, in a sense, segue your brain from reacting to your environment in turning into much more of a proactive state, but also a creative state. Now, of course, knowing myself, I'm a creative. Some days you're just not feeling it, but Keen AI will definitely give you some ideas to kind of get your brain in the right or the correct hemisphere, so that you can start, in a sense, diving further and further into that creative space. That's essentially the main reason why I created Keen AI, was basically to, in a sense, remove you from the reactive state to where you're just reacting, whether you're a creative professional or you're just, someone that's looking to, in a sense, reintroduce creativity to your day-to-day basis without, in a sense, trying to force yourself to be creative. This is something that kind of kickstarts the creative process. That's the main reason why I created Keen AI. All right. So the next tool that I created was Catapult AI. So this tool, in the name, this basically instates that it analyzes every bit of information. And the thing is, with all of these large language models, and the reason why I created a lot of these was specifically so that you guys could give it as much information about your organization or your respective field as possible, so that the response that it gives you back are super tailored to your specific situation, so that you could take the correct plan of action that makes the most amount of sense, backed up by literal real world data on how majority of the consultants that work in business growth, for instance, that's what this tool is geared towards, in assisting you to actually take your organization or your practice or whatever field or vertical you're working in or trying to go after, to really get a hold of that in a much more efficient but calculated manner. So with Catapult, what I've personally noticed from the responses that I've gotten with it, with all the use cases that I've applied it to, I have found that if you consistently give it hyper-specific information, right, you don't leave any cards unturned, for lack of a better term, and you really get down to the nitty and gritty, the responses get much more better, and the more you talk to it, the better it's going to get at iterating its responses back to your organization. So with all of these bots, you have to make sure that you keep the same chat window, or you continue to go back to the same chat window. That way, the responses it gives you are still on the topic, because you have to educate the bot, and then you actually have to ask it direct feedback. But if you open up a new chat window with any of these bots, it's basically like starting from a fresh slate again. So you want to continue to have the same chat log opened up, so that it continues to give you better and better advice as time progresses, as you do the things that it actually consults you on doing. All right, so the next tool that I created is it's not necessarily a tool that I have any expertise in. I just created this tool because I haven't really found a tool that does exactly this. So Occasion AI is basically an event planner, but it's also a very strategic event planner based on your budget, based on where you're going to be going, based on what your objective is, right? Whether you're planning, like, for instance, a weekend getaway, or you're planning some kind of like event of some sort. This AI really accelerates in the nitty and gritty details of how an event could possibly happen in the most fluid format possible, if that makes sense. So this takes out all the logistics. This takes care of everything. You just have to be very specific with this one, right? Let's say you're inviting 30 people over, to some get together. This is going to, in a sense, solve the logistics for that manner. This is going to, provide you ideas on, for instance, like food, drinks, everything. This is going to give you an in-depth analytical breakdown of how that would be possible, but also everything else that you might need to consider with the responses that it gives you moving through. All right, so the next tool that I created was Colormatic. Now, Colormatic is specifically geared towards photographers and videographers, and this essentially what it does is it gives you color palettes and color grades solutions, essentially. So in the realm of photography, there are tools like Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, and in videography, there are tools like Adobe Premiere Pro, and then there are tools like DaVinci Resolve. So what Colormatic does is it gives you, for instance, let's say you want to mimic a color grade similar to like a movie that you saw. You would tell Colormatic, based on all the information that's available of, majority of the popular media, right, or popular films out there, it's going to recommend you very, very specific color grades that you can do with your footage so that you can get that exact look as that movie or that so-called influencer. And the other thing that I've noticed is that where Colormatic really accelerates at is that if you upload a photo of, for instance, someone that uploaded a photo online, or it's one of your photos that you edited and you really liked how it looked, but you used, for instance, like a different app, what Colormatic does is it actually gives you the exact settings that you can actually, it reverse engineers the color science of your photos so that you can literally replicate the process on different color grading tools. And the same thing goes with, for instance, DaVinci Resolve and Premiere Pro. You can literally get the exact same color settings with the color wheels so that your footage looks exactly the same from your photos to your videos. So that's the main reason why I created Colormatic, was so that you can literally upload a photo and say, give me a Lightroom preset, or give me, like, for instance, if you're using Snapseed or VSCO or any of these other editing tools, and it gives you the exact color settings on what you need to change to mimic that exact same look. Now, of course, you can use this to copy, in a sense. I'm not advising you to copy like movies or any of that stuff. This is just a tool that I created so that you can, in a sense, emulate very popular color grading styles within your photography and videography. And it seems to actually be performing quite well, and the responses that I've been getting from from all the posts that I've been doing have been actually quite good. The only drawback to this is that it gives you the actual color settings. It doesn't actually create the .cube files or the .xmp files for you. So later on, I might try to find a workaround. If I'm successful at it, of course, it's going to be turning into its own software to where it literally spits out a Lightroom preset for you, or a .cube file, to where if you're a videographer or content creator, you can literally grab it and go and import it into the software and start using it off the bat. All right, so the next tool that I created was Abstraction. So Abstraction is basically created specifically for creatives. So majority of the problems that I've seen a lot of content creators have is that they're unable to monetize strategically, meaning that the partnerships that they take on or the joint ventures that they are a part of, they aren't necessarily using their audience as a tool from which they can actually gain a much bigger advantage if they were to, in a sense, go about it the traditional method of just posting random content and not having a clear and concise action plan. So I created Abstraction to help content creators monetize with a much more strategic approach, to where their next joint ventures are going to be much more aligned with their audience interests and what their audience actually wants to see, but also with the actual monetization, strategy in the back end. All right, so the next tool that I created was Fourth Dimension. Now, Fourth Dimension is basically a way to where you can, in a sense, really hone in on your decision-making process. So Fourth Dimension, the concept behind it was predictive analysis, right? So I have uploaded document after document after document on predictive analysis to make sure that this bot actually creates outputs, and that gives you the most clear and concise output for your decisions that you're about to be making with Fourth Dimension. Now, of course, this is a consultant tool. This isn't like a boss of some sort. This is just to help you guide on the process of decision making and impactful decision making through formats of predictive analysis. Now, going back to my profile. All right. So Excavat. So Excavat, the main reason why I created Excavat and the reason why I really like Excavat and the people that I've actually been continuously using and the user feedback that I've been getting from Excavat, it seems to me like the Excavat is very, very good at providing nitty and gritty details that search engines aren't, in a sense, providing based on search intent. So let's say on Google you type in what's the best cookie to make that most people would actually like. So what Google would in a sense show you, if you type that into Google, it's going to give you a bunch of recipes to buy, right? It's going to give you a whole bunch of products, and it's going to give you probably about millions of blog articles that you would read through. So the reason why I created Excavat is to give you a clear and concise answer based on all the blog content, all of the recipes that are available on the internet, to distill it directly to one response and your, of course, intent, which is, you know, the more information you give it on what you're trying to research and what you're trying to accomplish, also known as your objective, Excavat is going to give you a clear and concise answer to that in literally one response. So that's the main reason why I created Excavat. Let's say you're trying to find if a certain, you know, user or something like that is still posting content online, right? Or a specific influencer, what are they doing nowadays, right? Excavat is going to show you results based on the most search intent based results for your search query. So I know that that sounds like a whole bunch of jargony words, but long story short, it gives you exactly what you're searching for without all the junk and all the other stuff that you're going to see if you were to Google something, right? A whole bunch of ads and a whole bunch of blog posts that most people don't want to read or don't care to read because it's probably information they already know about said user or said influencer or said content creator that you're trying to find if they've done anything new online. This is definitely a tool that is, from my experience and the things that I've been searching, and of course I've used this tool on myself. I've searched, you know, what is Drew doing nowadays? What is Drew a part of nowadays? And it's giving me very clear and concise answers that are seemingly very accurate based on all of the search engines combined, rather than it just being a process like you would standard, like the standard process of you going about researching, which is you'd go on Google, then you'd go on Bing, then you'd go on Yahoo, and then you try to compute all that information to figure out. Because in most cases, majority of the search results when you are looking up people, it usually shows you social media profiles, it shows you a bunch of images with the tagged, you know, username or name or keyword that you're looking for. But this Excavat really accelerates at the intent of why you're using or why you're searching, you know, for this specific thing. So it really, really transforms the research process that I have found to really speed up the actual main reason or the core reason behind your objectives, and it connects the two dots. So the next tool that I created is Territory 3. Now, Territory 3 is basically a tool that is specifically created to not necessarily, how would I put this? It, in a sense, helps guide you through the thought process of trying something new and doing something different than you otherwise wouldn't have been doing. Like if you've ever had those days where it seems like you're doing the exact same thing over and over and over again, and for whatever reason, you're not really happy or satisfied with the results that you're getting, right? This is where Territory 3 really comes into play, is that it shows you alternative methods of not only thinking about the environment that you're in or the results that you're getting, it actually reverse engineers an entire process of how you'd go about your day to get a traditionally different end result based on the objective of what you're trying to accomplish, by using frameworks like BetDAR. Now, if you guys don't know what BetDAR is, I'm going to go through the bio and I'm going to show you exactly what BetDAR is and how a lot of creators and a lot of people have leveraged the BetDAR framework. Now, BetDAR framework is essentially a scientifically proven format of how you would, in a sense, get out of ruts and get out of continuous habitual patterns that, in a sense, either A, aren't necessarily serving you, or B, they're just keeping you stuck. So what the beauty of BetDAR is that it attacks the main core elements of why you do the things that you do, and it guides you through a step-by-step process of how you would break free from that loop, right? Let's say you have a habit of driving to work the exact same route. What BetDAR would do would ask you, why do you drive that way? Or for instance, if you, in a sense, you're trying to accomplish a goal of some sort, or you're trying to experience something new in your life, what BetDAR would automatically do is it would go after the belief aspect of your brain, the core beliefs. Why do you believe that your situation's the way that it is? And then it would go into the emotion. And it's essentially all of these steps, right? Belief, emotion, thought, decision, action, and result. It's a reversed engineered process that you can adopt into your own life to where you can really reevaluate the results that you want, also known as the objectives that you would like to hit. And it helps you, guide you through the process of getting yourself out of that current state, or that current state of cognitive loops that you're running through continuously. It would guide you through the process of what's causing that said result in your life, what's causing that said result in your environment. And it would guide you through a step-by-step process to where not only you can understand your own situation from a much more in-depth and analytical standpoint, and objective-based oriented standpoint, but it also guides you through the process of how you can, in a sense, not only cognitively trick your brain into trying something new or doing something new, it'll also show you the unique benefits of how you would accomplish your, in a sense, objectives of what you're trying to accomplish, right? So for instance, one of the biggest examples I can think of off the top of my head was that I wasn't necessarily fond of the idea of creating videos online, right? What BetDAR suggested was an entire array and plethora of reasons why I may be feeling that way, or what beliefs or what thoughts I would essentially be thinking that would cause the end result of me not making videos online. And then what it would do is suggest different ways to where I can think about the situation of me not making videos online, and it would reverse engineer a plan of action to where I could step into, in a sense, for lack of a better term, alternative reality of where I am making videos online and the results that I actually would be getting from making videos online. So essentially, it's a tool that helps you break free from your comfort zone in probably the most, I wouldn't say devious, but in a way to where you're kind of not tricking yourself, but you're tricking your own brain from stepping out of your own comfort zone. So it's an extraordinarily powerful tool. You just have to make sure that you let the tool know what objective you're trying to accomplish, and it will literally guide you through the step-by-step process to escape from your current comfort zone, right? So it's an extraordinary powerful tool. Like from my experience, I've literally used this tool multiple times, and it has drastically changed my approach to how, not only how I problem solve, but also how I, in a sense, pick and choose the unique objectives that I'd like to accomplish in my life. And it's I don't like to say this often, but it is definitely a revolutionary tool if you're trying to, in a sense, live an existence that's different than the current existence that you're getting, or get different results than the results that you're currently getting by, in a sense, kind of tricking your brain into trying something new without, in a sense, invoking some form of fear, or really trying to, in a sense, put yourself out there a little too much to where you get uncomfortable. This is, in a sense, takes that much more nurturing approach to how you would, in a sense, step out of your own comfort zone and try something new. From my experience alone using this tool, I can 100% confirm that the BetDAR framework, even though it is scientifically proven, now of course a lot of things are scientifically proven even though you can't see them, right? Like for instance gravity. Scientifically proven to exist even though you can't see it. This is definitely a framework that it works. It works at such a degree that I'm blown away at the fact that I was able to create a bot that you can have a conversation with and actually see tangible changes and have those changes literally manifest in front of your eyes based on the way that your brain processes the environment and the information that you're getting. And it's just insane. That's all I gotta say. Of course, you can go to po.com/Drewdeltz and you can give all these tools a try. That, like, they're all free to use. So the next tool that I created is called Intergaze. Now, Intergaze, the unique strength that Intergaze has is that it automatically helps you adjust the way that you, in a sense, learn different topics, right? So, for instance, people traditionally go to some form of schooling to learn certain things. What Intergaze really excels at is that it uses forms of neurogenerative techniques, meaning that it helps you build different ways to where your brain can think about solving a problem in an alternative fashion that you otherwise would not be aware of, because you're currently running off of the programming that your brain is currently running on, set by the actions that you've previously taken and the results that you've previously gotten. What Intergaze does is it literally shines a light on alternative forms of thinking about problem solving and thinking about learning different things, to where you can actually get out of cognitive loops, right? Let's say you get up in the morning and you drink coffee every single morning. Let's say you don't want to drink coffee in the morning. Intergaze is going to find alternative methods of how you would go about that, similar to how Territory 3 would, but Territory 3 is more of like a belief and internalization of your world and your objectives, but Intergaze is more of like, how do you process that information, and how do you catch yourself thinking repetitive thoughts or repetitive ideas inside of your head. And this is like, I could go on and on and on about how this tool affects you internally, but the Territory 3 and Intergaze are very, very powerful tools. Now, of course, Steve Jobs created Apple. Everybody knows that. Now, what this does is it uses similar formats and frameworks that Steve Jobs used as a creative and a creator and an innovator, and it applies the exact same concepts to how you can leverage those exact same frameworks for your own creative or professional endeavors. Now, moving on. Earth 1.0. So Earth 1.0 is basically a travel advisor. It's more of a content creator oriented travel advisor, meaning that if you want to go, let's say, to Mexico, and you want to make a whole bunch of content for your social media, this tool is specifically created for content creators, right? For digital nomads, content creators, this is going to give you a list of the top places based on your budget, right? This is a travel advisor, right? So it's obviously going to factor in your travel budget, the time that you're going to be there. This does all of that for you, and it's going to give you results based on your intentions, right? So that when you do go out to these places, and of course, I've actually tested this tool, right? I went on Google and typed in a lot of these destinations as an example. Like if I wanted to hypothetically go to Mexico or something like that, but I wanted to make a bunch of like photos and videos just to show people what I'm doing, where I'm at. And this actually gives you very, very solid recommendations from a photographer slash videographer slash content creator's perspective of where can I go to get the best photos and to really highlight the, in a sense, aroma of the trip in that place or that destination. This is where it really shines. And of course, you can ask it places like, where can I go, in a sense, in Mexico that a lot of people or a lot of content creators have not gone before, but it's really underrated. This is where that tool really shines. You can go ahead, you could try it out, and it's absolutely free to use, and it's super, super underrated. I mean, I'm just surprised that I'm able to, in a sense, create tools like this that are hyper specific towards your specific needs and my specific needs. just by leveraging large language models that are publicly available, instead of you doing hours of research, or you paying a travel consultant or someone, or calling one of these, or going to booking.com, wasting hours looking up for hotels and seeing if that matches your budget, and then doing all the number crunching. This does all that for you. Okay, and all you have to do after getting a prompt back is that you would actually have to go in, because it's a consultant, it's not like a full-blown agent. You would then give it your, you would then put in all the event details, the locations, and all that stuff, and make your reservations based on your budget so that you don't go over budget. Now, of course, with travel, prices change daily. It is what it is. It's not perfect, but it really gives you an alternative experience that you otherwise wouldn't get, that most places would, most commercially oriented places would suggest you, in a sense, going about. This gives you an alternative experience to, in a sense, go about your travel endeavors. Okay, so the next tool that I created is called Altered Eye. So Altered Eye, and the main reason why I create these tools is a alternative angle at attacking the same problem. Now, Altered Eye, where Altered Eye really comes into, and this specific tool is made for photo shoots, video shoots, brand partnerships, brand deals. This is specifically created for creators, creative professionals. This is a really, really powerful tool if things, in a sense, with said brand, said photo shoot, do not go as planned. This is exactly why I created this tool, because I've been in tons of destinations, tons of travel destinations, and the weather wasn't on par, it wasn't on the same page, or there was different variables at play. Like I tried to go to places that have a lot of people, and I tried to find times where there was not that many people at a very popular location. And this tool, where it really shines, is it gives you ideas and core concepts to where you can leverage your current environment with its current weather patterns, with its current state, with alternative creative ideas for photo shoots, for brands, for creators, and all of that stuff. This shows you an alternative way of leveraging. Let's say you go to a place, like I stated before, that you go to a place and you think it's not going to be busy, but it's busy, but you have a photo shoot that you have to shoot. This shows you creative angles that you can leverage the environment that you're currently in, within the circumstances that you're currently in a creative format that would then still be on par with the brand, but also invoke that form of storytelling that is very popular in the cinema field. So this tool is mainly created specifically so that if things don't go as planned, you use Altered Eye so that you would get an additional, in a sense, idea on how you could, in a sense, shoot that place or shoot in that place if things don't necessarily go as planned. Now, of course, I've actually used this tool multiple times beforehand. Now, unfortunately, right, majority of the places that I've gone to, there either is really bad cell reception or there is no cell reception. You're in the middle of nowhere. You're either in the middle of the woods or you're in some freaking giant canyon, and there is, there's no service at all. So this tool really gives you a backup strategy on how you would go about doing photo shoots for creatives if in the environment changes, or for instance you plan on doing a sunset photo shoot but it's all overcast. This gives you ideas on how you could leverage the environment as it is to get the same outcome, but in a creative format that still aligns with the brand identity of who you're shooting, for instance, the products for, or, any kind of creative endeavor. So that's where this tool really, really shines in. So the next tool that I created is called Imagine. So Imagine is essentially a tool that helps you break out of the traditional norms of creative or professional creative pursuits. So what this does is it challenges you as the creative to find alternative means of processing the field of creativity and your creativity to, in a sense, get different creative outcomes with the same exact project. So it really pushes the boundaries of what it means to think outside of the box without being tied into the traditional corporate constraints of what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. This tool really shines in where you can separate your personal creative projects and your professional creative projects. So the next tool that I created is Van Gogh AI imaging. So the Van Gogh AI image bundle is basically like 8,000 plus AI generated really high quality images that I sell in a bundle that you can use commercially free. And I actually created a tool, but it requires you to be a subscriber to po.com to actually use the tool. It basically creates really, really realistic images for your professional or creative or anything that you would, in a sense, use AI generated images for. This creates hyper realistic images for your, in a sense, professional or creative field. So moving on to the next field, I know I'm briefly going over that one. It's kind of self-explanatory. So the next tool that I created was Crafted AI. So Crafted AI is essentially a productivity consultant / assistant that helps you reanalyze your workflow to make it much more fluid, or in a sense, it would help make it much more seamless. So where Crafted AI really shines is that it takes in your core concept of your work day or your personal day, and it shows you alternative ways to where you can really leverage the tools that you're using, right? It grabs your tech stack, right? It's all based on the information that you give it. So the more specific you are with the information about your day-to-day life, about your work day, about the tools that you're using, about the tech stack that you're using, it finds either alternative tools to where you can speed up the process of getting your work day done and over with, and it shows you alternative ways to where you can further optimize your day-to-day tasks in a much more, it takes a much more outsider approach looking in rather than you being stuck in the silo of just nothing but work. It takes an alternative perspective and shows you different ways to where you can actually optimize your workflow and get it much more optimized but also efficient. So this is a much more analytical based tool, and of course the more information that you give it, the more effective the prompts are going to be and the more tailored the prompts are going to be. So not only is this tool based for, traditional productivity in regards to your work or your day-to-day life, this is actually, it takes everything into account, right? Let's say you're going out for the weekend or something like that, or you're traveling somewhere. This is going to analyze every single thing that you're planning on doing, and it finds ways to where you can further optimize that so that you get more out of your day or your work day in a much more efficient manner. Now, of course, this also has the ability to, in a sense, recommend you different tools to use, different apps to use, different websites to use, to where you can really get the most amount of uses or the most amount of use case with said tasks or with said process that you're going about. All right. Thanks for checking out all of my AI tools. I know this is a pretty long video, and these are just some of the tools that I've already launched and I'm working on. So I'm really, really stoked to finally make a full-blown video, even though I didn't necessarily talk too specific about every single tool and all the use cases that these tools can offer you and your creative or professional endeavors, but I will be making follow-up videos on alternative formats where you can use these unique tools in very different areas that still, in a sense, hammers on the actual strengths of these tools. All right, I'll see you guys next time. Peace.